Now, hopefully this records. What do we got? Need some manual labor to work through some things. Maybe get me talking about other things, because manual labor is really good for that. Welcome to the Rogues Tavern, and this is the Rogue speaking, and I am about to waterproof another coat, or re-waterproof. This is my Outback. Really can't get it on the screen with the angle I've got right now, but this is the Outback long coat. You'll see it soon enough, because I'll be doing some recording up at the range this week, and I'll be dressed in my full cowboy gear. But this needs to be waterproofed. The waterproofing is a little over a year and a half old since I bought the coat, give or take, and it's starting to not be waterproof. So, same as the last one. There we go. Really good stuff. And we'll just get started on it. Probably best to start up near the top. So, one of the interesting things of life I've found is that if I'm working and doing something with my hands, I can talk much easier. But it's something that's pretty mindless work, such as this, makes it even easier to talk. I have a trouble. I can't discuss it right now. It's pretty personal, and impacts not just me, but parts of my family. But there are some things I want to talk about. There'll be some videos up. They might already be up by the time this video gets up. And that is that my insights from doing wilderness first aid training. Let's take this thing off. Wilderness first aid training was quite an eye-opener for me. I learned quite a bit from it. And more than I expected. I mean, I expected to learn some things, not only about first aid in the wilderness, but things about myself and who I am. And the biggest reason, of course, was I was alone this weekend when doing the wilderness first aid. I didn't expect that. There were 12 other people on the course, or 11 other people on the course, 12 of us total. And we were supposed to be camping in a spot, but it was within, at most, for most people, a 2-hour drive back to their home. So I expected many people to stay, but several of the other scout leaders, they lived close enough. They just didn't want to drive back and forth. Can't really blame them all that much. Or they didn't want to stay the night. It was a really wet weekend. You'll see from some of the video. I'm really saddened in one aspect of it, because I went through a lot of effort to record some really good videos, and they got lost. The chips I was using, the memory cards I was using for the camera, had some problems. And I knew they had a couple of problems, but I thought I'd fix them with some reformatting and blocking out, but it didn't seem to fix them all. So I had recorded some really beautiful footage about of creeks and other things, just some good forest sounds, which would have become stock footage for me that I could have used in different places, but it didn't record it, unfortunately, which is sad. really, really sad. So what did I learn about myself on this journey, on this trip this weekend? Well, I learned that even though I was out there in relative wilderness area, you know, the place I thought wasn't actually remote is technically remote based upon wilderness first aid standards. It's remote because if someone's injured, it is a minimum of 20 minutes to get an ambulance, possibly longer, and over an hour from the nearest hospital. Even at top speed, they could get there in a maximum of 35 minutes if they were able to hit the road at that speeds. But the road they have to drive is pretty twisty and windy. If you watch the first video I put up, driving through the fall roads, that's the road that I took to get out there to the camp. And it is out there a bit. It's a good drive. That's not all the footage. I only put up part of the footage from it because there's traffic and other things. You really don't want to see that. It's a good video. It's got some other things in it. Music. It's set to country music. So you might enjoy it. Go check it out if you like country music. If you don't, well, so be it. At any rate, what else is there? What else did I learn? I learned myself. I learned that I need to overcome my fears of the forest. And I started to this weekend. Started to overcome it quite nicely. You know, making peace with the rain and the wetness, which here on the wet coast, well, if you go winter camping, you've got a better than 50% chance you're going to be in the rain, even if you start out and it's sunny and dry. Rain comes up pretty quick here. I learned that I kind of like being by myself out there. Now that I have some really good first aid training, I'm a little more confident in what I can do and how I can accomplish it. First aid training was a really big key thing for me. Well, I had first aid training, but wilderness first aid training, it's a whole different level of thought with what you're doing. I actually did a halfway decent job of setting up my tent. Hopefully there's a video up of that pretty soon. That one there I actually managed to record most of it, getting my tent set up. Let's flip this because I don't want the oil all over myself. Let's go from the middle of the coat. Actually, we need to go from the top down, partway down the back here. So, I slept okay. Went to bed with minimal strife. I did discover when I planted my tent I missed a rock and I couldn't get to it because of course it was pissing rain, my tent was tarped, and getting up under my tent was near impossible. So I just kind of extra patted it to keep the rock off myself. So since we've already gone that far, let's just go to here. Okay, we've gone to that seam. We need this seam here. Did I get the... Oh, I haven't got the full arm. I need this side of the arm. I discovered I really like camping. It's really refreshing for me. Mind clearing. I don't really quite know how to describe the aspect of mind clearing in that, you know, I don't feel as scattered. I'm not working to my full potential yet, but that will come as I get more relaxed and find more of myself and who I am and what I'm doing, where I'm going in life. This is always kind of one of those bothering kind of things that you never quite know what's going to happen in your life, where it's going to go. Just when you think life is working the way you want it to, something goes wrong. And how you handle those curves, those downturns in life, can determine a lot about how your life flows forward from that point. I know people right now that are dealing with those kinds of things. They've got some issues that have suddenly popped up, and they have to figure out how to deal with it to get their life turning forward. Once again, they can't let it stop them with the progress they've made. That's the hardest part about suddenly having something go wrong in life, is that where do you turn? What do you do? You know, lots of people say, oh, I read this book or I read that book. Well, books can help you. Watching somebody can inspire you. I've recently been inspired by watching some videos, and the person doing the videos, I think it's called, I can't remember the name of the channel. Wouldn't matter anyway at this moment. Me shouting them out, nobody's watching these yet. And by the time I get audience, these videos will be buried, and very few people come back to these first ones. Because nobody hardly ever goes back to the first ones. I do, because I want to see how they started and how they refined themselves. Because usually by the time they gain an audience, they're 2-3 years old. That was something that had occurred to me. Is like, I have been relatively unsatisfied with my life the last year and a half, and I didn't know what the problem was. I still don't have a full grasp on what it is. I know what it is that I'm doing something I do enjoy for the most part, but it's not what I want to be doing. It's not where I'm supposed to be at. I'm supposed to be in the outdoors. I'm supposed to already be living the outdoor lifestyle. I don't know if they still do it, but back when I was in high school, and I'll date myself because I really don't care that I date myself. I graduated from high school in 1982. So, of course, in that era there, they'd make you go see a career counselor. It was actually part of the senior curriculum. As a senior in high school, part of the curriculum was to go see the high school the career counselor and try to figure out, make a plan for where you wanted to go in life, what you wanted to do, what you might be good at. And they give you these different tests to sort of figure out what you like and how to go about getting there. Now, of course, my problem was I was moving and doing things, and I was completely unsettled. As much as my father tried his best to give me guidance, he could only give guidance within the capabilities of the guidance he was given as a kid. His guidance eventually came by joining the military. And I should have joined the military, because that probably would have given me the guidance I needed. But now that that rabbit hole is exhausted, let's go down another one, back to where I was. And that was, I'd taken this test to figure out what you want to do, what your aptitudes were. where you could put your focus in life. And it turned out, from my aptitude tests, I should have become a park ranger or an outfitter or a guider or something, but I think park ranger is where they pushed you towards at that point in time. But I wasn't given direction on how to go about doing that. So I ended up becoming an automotive mechanic. And why'd I do that? Because I'd been taking automotive repair shop since 8th grade. And I have a natural aptitude for mechanical things. Just give me something mechanical, let me look at it a little while, and I can figure out how it works and take it apart and put it back together, or if it's broken, I can figure out what's wrong with it. It's got to be mechanical, though. Well, I can do that to some extent with electronics. I can reverse engineer them and figure out what's wrong or where the component has gone bad in them. So, at any rate, so I was supposed to be in the outdoors. And at that point, I still enjoyed going to the outdoors. All kinds of stuff by myself. Regularly, off on my own. You know, I used to regularly, I grew up in Southern California before it is the nightmare it is these days. I wouldn't even go I won't even go near the place now. It's such a fucking shit show. But at that time there weren't as many people living there. There was lots of wide open space, you know, shrublands. I wouldn't say forests, but they had treed areas. And it wasn't unusual for me by myself or with my buddies. You know, we get out of school for the day, and first thing we do is go home, grab our shit, get on our motorcycles. This is when I was in my 16s. We'd get on our dirt bikes and ride them down the road, because you could get away with it back then. And of course, the other reason we could get away with it was the canyon areas were only like half a mile away, you know, 500 meters, maybe 1,000 meters away, and we're poof on dirt and we're gone, and we'd just head out into the bush, and we'd stay there for the weekend, go build fires, you know, do crazy things that kids do in areas where, well, it's not that there's no rules, it's that the rules don't exist as they do now, or didn't exist as they do now. You know, the rules now are just insane. Kids can't do anything. I used to be able to shoot my BB gun in my backyard. Paid for a couple of windows, but, you know, you learn. You know, problem is now they do that, they break a window, they charge them with vandalism and send them to juvie. Downright stupid. Most of the stuff that kids do, and most kids, are fixable if you get them early enough and you make them pay restitution for what they did wrong. It's like, I still remember the time when I was very young. I guess I was about 4th or 5th grade, and I fell in with a bunch of the wrong kids, some real troublemakers, and I got talked into throwing rocks at school windows. We must have busted 15, 20 windows, and we got caught. Now again, if it was today, I would end up in juvie. I probably wouldn't have the life I have. But what happened was, they took us to our parents, who were truthfully mortified, didn't even try to defend our stupidity, and then made us pay for those. Where'd the money come from? Well, we didn't have a lot of money, so my parents ended up paying it initially, but I worked for weeks to pay back my parents. Every job I did, every pop bottle I collected and sold, Everything went to pay for that bill. So you see, you can actually fix kids if you don't make them into criminals. If you make them into a criminal, send them to juvenile hall, all you're doing is ensuring that they get further training in how to be a criminal. That's the biggest problem. They just get further training. So, where was I going? I have no idea. Oh yeah, back to what I was supposed to do, and what I was doing. Well, back to the forest. It wasn't uncommon. I'd go out all day long, no plan. Sometimes I don't even know if I carried a compass most of the time. I just knew where to go. I had an innate sense of direction. I could always know where everything was. I always knew which way I walked in, which way I walked out, which way to walk back out after I walked in. It was just, it's one of those things. You can develop an innate sense of direction if you do it often enough. The other thing was I also got used to the areas. Now, and that continued for a very long time, all the way up through to my late 20s. And so this weekend here, I kind of pinpointed what happened and why I quit going to the forest. And this goes back to my first marriage. You see, I was still doing that. I was a scout leader. I was going out to the forest. I was, backpacking. I was warming up. I was getting ready to go do the West Coast Trail. I was going to go do the West Coast Trail. I had myself geared up for it almost entirely. I had my backpack training for carrying the weight I needed. Pretty much everything was set for that. And then life got in the way, a major way. And how did life get in the way? Well, I'm not sure I told the story. I might have told the story somewhere else in another video, but I'll tell it again. It's always worth repeating a good story. If it's a good story, keep repeating it. What happened was I was a scout leader for my daughter at the time. My daughter is still my daughter. I was a scout leader at the time, and I did not know that you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife, something I only recently learned. Keep that in mind, any young men that are watching this. If your woman's a hoe, you'll never be able to turn her into a housewife. She's either a housewife or a hoe. There's no in between. You could have a professional woman that's not a hoe, but she'll never be a housewife. So keep that in mind too. So at any rate, my first wife, what had occurred was I'd gone away for a weekend to camping with the Scouts to do a major adventure for the Scouts. This was I think we were gone for 4 days. It was a long weekend. We were gone out Friday, coming back Monday. So that's 4 days. So that weekend I was gone, my hoe decided that she was going to move everything out of the house and leave me with the kid, which was okay by me. I love being a dad. I think that's my second big calling in life, is being a dad. But I came home from camping, and most of my shit had been moved out of the house. Well, left me, I think I had the bed and a few pieces of furniture. She took the rest of it and abandoned it. That is a whole shit show unto itself after that. But I think that set me on a path of not liking the forest, because it was an association my brain had unconsciously made. Go to the forest, your life falls apart. So I every time I went to the forest, all I could think of was, I got to get back, I got to get back, I got to get back. This weekend here was the first weekend I was in no hurry to leave. Now, I did pack my gear up early in the day because I knew I was going to leave at the end of the day, but I was in no hurry to get out of there. There was no rush. It was actually kind of cool. And that realization, I think, is going to allow me to traipse down that road I was headed on once. Now, I won't be a park ranger because I actually looked up what it takes to be one now. Fuck, they want a bachelor's degree. They want you to have a freaking bachelor's degree to be a park ranger. Really? 4 years of college? You know, and nowadays to get your bachelor's degree it takes 5 years, $60,000, $120,000 in debt to get a job that only pays like, $60,000 a year at its peak. It's not a very well-paying job, but you got to get a bachelor's degree for it. Back when I was doing it, you didn't need a bachelor's degree. All you had to do was join the Park Service and work your way up. Now you can join the Park Service, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look in to see how I can join the Park Service, or even become a volunteer for one of the local parks. I think I got to send an email out to the instructor from the first aid course, because I want to see if she'll help guide me some information for things I'd like to do. I've been inspired. I really have been inspired this weekend by wilderness first aid. I mean, I'm not dumb by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to be a wilderness first aid instructor, but I do want to get out there, and I want to get out there further and further. I want to get out to the points where I used to be. I want to get out like I used to. I used to really get out there, with no fear. The places where I don't know if I'll find them here so much unless I get up to the tops of mountains. But I'll tell you, one of the best things you can ever do in your life, if you get a chance to do it, go to the desert. Desert of Arizona, Nevada, doesn't really matter. Pick a desert and go to it. Get at least 4 hours outside any major city. And if at all possible, do it on a moonless, crystal clear night. And because you're driving down the road, you won't notice this at first. But what you do is, once you pick a spot, get safely off the road, then once you're pulled over, turn the lights off on your vehicle, but don't get out of the vehicle immediately. I mean, it'll go pitch black. Pull the keys out. Make sure you got the overhead lights turned off, so when you get out of your car, and nowadays it's really kind of hard. I own a truck where I cannot turn off the freaking lights getting out of the truck. So I'd probably have to, in that case there, well, get out of your vehicle, but don't look up at the night sky yet. Look at the ground. Stare at the ground for a good 5 minutes. We're talking 5 full minutes here. Okay? Just stare at the ground. Let your eyes adjust to the dark. Let your night vision fully kick in. Then what you do is look up at the night sky. If it doesn't knock you over, you have no heart. It should just wow you. It should be like the most amazing thing you have ever seen in your life. For me, that's what it was. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I still have not seen anything that amazing in my life. the desert sky on a moonless night, far from a city, the Milky Way galaxy, you can actually see the ground. There is that much light. So I just say, you know, when you get out into the forest, even the forest, like I noticed it this weekend when I was sleeping, and when it would clear up in brief patches, I'd wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning or something, you know, to roll over, whatever disturbed me. I could actually see the items in my tent as if I had light in there. I could see it as if I had a light, which is the most amazing thing to me. I forget that, you know, you get far enough away from the city, the natural light that is provided at night is amazing. You know, it's kind of like the one thing I learned when I was, I went caving this last summer. Well, not caving. I went on a cave tour. Not caving, on a cave tour at Horn Lake Caves here on Vancouver Island. And one of the things they do when you're in there, first, of course, they make sure everyone in the group is going to be okay with it so no one freaks out. They ask if you want to know what real, true, pure, absolute darkness looks like. And everyone's always game for it. I mean, why not? So what happens is they tell everyone, okay, sit down comfortably. Don't try to stand because you'll get disoriented, and you do actually get disoriented. It's really kind of an amazing thing. Everyone turns off their lights, and after 5 minutes, you literally still cannot see your hand in front of your face. You can bring your hand all the way up to your nose, and you still cannot see it. You think you see it, but you cannot see it. You cannot see anything. True, absolute darkness. And one of the things they described in that is that true, absolute darkness will actually cause insanity. It'll cause you to start losing it. Your brain will start making shit up because it just needs that sensory input. So it's not, you can't deal with, and people can't deal with true, absolute darkness. So it's really kind of an amazing thing. So anyway, the desert. Go check out the desert. Really a cool place. Now I've been thinking about how am I going to do my videos. I mean, I've watched several of these videos here. Some of them seem to come off the cuff. Not mine, but videos from other people doing videos of this style. And while they seem to come off the cuff, many times, and I'm looking back on them, I'm thinking that wasn't purely off the cuff. That seemed like a lot of pre-prep and some scripting. And the biggest way you can tell is the jump cuts in there, the cut scenes. Because jump cuts are indicative of, oh, I read my script wrong, and they edit it in post. One thing you can get from me is you'll never get any of my talking will be jump cut, because it'll never be edited in that aspect, and I'll never script. I just don't believe in scripting. Life isn't scripted. You think it is. You can script your life to your heart's content, but the moment you get it scripted or think it's scripted, something comes along and says, hey, guess what? Deal with this. I got something new for you. Haha, fuck you. I'm life. And I'm random. Life is really, truly random. We can plan and make it less random, get things to go our way, but all of a sudden a random event can occur. Could be a weather-related event. Could be a accident occurs. You could touch the wrong doorknob while walking into the bank and end up with a cold or a flu. If you got kids, you know, they could come home and bring you the flu or the cold. You can't tell me that's not random. Because it is. It's about as random as it gets. Okay, so I need my cover slicker here. Need this. This has got to get done. Preferably on both sides. So, but life does that. It just does random shit to you to make sure you're paying attention. And that you really want the things you want. It's how you deal with these random events. These random events that occur. You could go to a party, end up too drunk, do something stupid. All kinds of things can happen. But how do you handle those random events? Sometimes they drag you down for weeks or even months. The biggest thing, though, is when that random event occurs, was it a warning that you're going the wrong direction with your life? Or was it a test to see if you're going to be able to carry through with what you're planning, what you've been planning? So you want to think about that and how you want to handle it. Because the random events always occur at random times. I know that sounds really dumb. Random events occur, and you got to figure out how to get through them, and how you're going to survive after it. And how you could possibly prepare for that random event next time. Because sometimes those random events can be semi-foreseen and semi-prepared for. You might not be able to prevent them, but you might be able to mitigate what happens when they occur. Life is what life is. And it's something that we're all destined to deal with, is life. What's the big saying? Don't sweat the small stuff too much. It's life. No one gets out of it alive. Nah, that's not it. Something like that, though. Truthfully, though, in life, no one gets out of it alive. I don't know if I'm ever actually going to get people watching these. If I do, please leave me comments. I'm always up for comments. I'd be happy to see what you have to say. I think I pretty much got this done. Let me get this. Don't miss a single spot on it. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, there'll be some videos coming real soon for me at the range. Yeah, this desperately. Ooh, look at that. I need another coat up here. coat's starting to get some character. Getting some character now. Oh, God, I like this coat. So, what is this one for? I bet that's to tie these back. I've got some ties on here that I've never quite figured out what they're for. So, if it's this. Got two. If you pull this back, I mean, you can come around like this. Oh, come around the other way. No. See, it comes like this. So, how does that work? Wait a sec. I've got something on this side. There it is right there. So you can come around this way and snap it in. Where did it go? Oh, wait a sec. Okay. If we come around, this way with it. Looks like a way to hold it open somehow. Alright, so I gotta figure out exactly what it does. Never quite figured this out. No, it's a loop for something. Let's see. That's it. Oil soak into it. A little bit more there. Alright, well, I think that'll call it. Thanks. This has been the Rogue from the Rogue's Tavern. And please subscribe to the channel. Go visit the Rogue's Tavern at theroguestavern.com and follow the journey. This is going to be an interesting journey. So thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.